Hey everybody, how you doing? Great Sunday to you. Technically, this is tax day. Hope you got your taxes done. But I'm not here to talk to you about taxes. I'm here to talk to you about a more pressing matter regarding the assumed decision by the Oakland City Council to completely do away with the eviction moratorium, I believe, prematurely. There are some in Oakland who are trying to convince the world that the pandemic is over, when the truth is, folks, it is still with us. And we have the prospect of recession facing us. And it's caused by crazy Federal Reserve policy for the most part. But the Oakland City Council was willing to go along with all the other California cities and counties that don't have Oakland's giant homeless problem and dump its eviction moratorium. That, even as it's known that many Oakland landlords did get rental aid, listen to me, did get rental aid for their tenants' units and separate from the renters. So, in other words, those persons and groups and organizations I'm talking about had applications to get funding from the state of California's Housing is Key program for the same apartment unit that their tenant is living in, while their tenant applied for the same program separately. Okay? Separately. Which means, unless, of course, the landlord told them they did this, the tenant may be in a situation where they're not able to pay, for pandemic reasons, the rent. And yet the landlord is saying, hey, you're not paying, so I can't wait to get rid of you. Yet they're turning around and pocketing the money for that tenant's unit. Okay. That is the situation that is alive right now. Let me continue. Okay. On Twitter a few days ago, newly elected Oakland District 4 Councilmember Janani Ramachandran tweeted the following quote, I'm proud to support Council President Bass, that's referring to District 2 Council Member Nikki Fortunato Bass's amended legislation to wind down the eviction moratorium. The harsh reality is that no realistic proposal is going to avoid some amount of unjust evictions for vulnerable tenants, nor will make the many small landlords who were unable to get financial relief they were for unpaid whole. That's the way she wrote it. What she meant was to write was, nor will the what she meant was right was this. The harsh reality is that no realistic proposal is going to avoid some amount of unjust evictions for vulnerable tenants, nor will it make the many small landlords who apply for aid whole. That's what she meant to write. It didn't come out right. She continues, I believe this compromise reflects thoughtful leadership despite the circumstances, and I hope to collaborate with my colleagues to prepare for the next phase of addressing our housing crisis. Please feel free to contact me and my team directly. If you have questions or feedback, I welcome civil discourse and constructive debate. It seems that the great council member did not stop to consider how the city could itself step in and make the tenants whole by making sure they weren't dumped out in the street by landlords who got aid from the Oakland, California, or the state of California on the tenants' units. And then, as I explained a little bit earlier, sought to push out those same tenants. Okay. There's no rush to do this at all. All right. And there's every reason to basically hurry up and get money to both landlords and tenants. Right now, there seems to be this itch to have landlords against tenants and vice versa. There are even people who claim to be PR or persons who are doing this. And I might add quite effectively, unfortunately. It's caused a lot of damage intellectually and politically. Now, let me continue. We have a weak economy, a looming recession, and the fact that the initial renter aid programs were underfunded to start with. That's right. The Housing is Key program bragged that it put out $4.8 billion in aid, but it is known that 1.5 million Californians, it was estimated, needed rental aid. By my calculation, they were only able to help 374,000 renters. That is far from the whole, which means you have a program that has gone 75% underfunded. That means what they actually needed was north of $10 billion. They didn't get anywhere near that. Close. Not at all. Nowhere near it. Nowhere near it. And so we have a gigantic problem. We have people, Democrats for the most part, by far, who are just throwing money out there to say, we did something, but they're not trying to solve the problem. Johnny's statement that, I can't believe she would actually write this, but she put this in writing, that the harsh reality is that there will be some unjust evictions for vulnerable tenants. Excuse me, council member, we have the Oakland Rent Board to deal with that. You didn't tell people about that. We have the ability to raise money ourselves and fill in at least the Oakland gap. The total gap that I refer to is for the entire state. But the Oakland gap is manageable by the city of Oakland. It just hasn't tried. So we have this place where the government doesn't care. And for those of you who say enough handouts, my retort is, who are you to say enough handouts? Answer, you don't know how to calculate the total number of handouts we need, so you're in no position to say enough. I am telling you, we have not given enough aid. So we have to stop this abject laziness the government seems bent on reflecting. The government actually must do some work. And this isn't just in this case. Look at Howard Terminal and how it was handled. Completely off process, lackadaisical, almost, well, we'll get it done when we can. As opposed to, hey, the A's in Major League Baseball on a clock. Come on. I experienced the same problem with the city in trying to bring the Super Bowl to the city. I had to literally build my own organization outside the city of Oakland to get anything done because I could not rely on the city of Oakland. Too much politics. And that was under Jerry Brown. The first taste of how we were going to be as a city under a strong mayor system. The strong mayor system has ruined Oakland. But I digress. Okay, but I digress. All right. Take what Oakland District 3 Councilmember Carroll Fife wrote last year, talking about my claim that the city knew it wasn't going to have enough money. There wasn't going to be enough money out there for renters who needed help, but did nothing to help them. All right. I'm not going to read the whole letter because it's wrong, but I'll just get to the gist of it in terms of what Councilmember Fife says. She says, currently there's 730,000 California households behind on rent. The total debt amounting approximately 3.2 billion. And then she writes that many tenants have struggled to receive assistance because of oversubscription and administrative issues within the programs. This resolution that she's putting out called for the state of California to say, hey, you know what? For Oakland to say to the state of California that, hey, you need to fulfill all outstanding rental applications that meet the eligibility requirements. So similarly, there should be a requirement for the city of Oakland to make absolutely certain that all tenants have received funding and that landlords disclose if they have received funding from the state for a particular tenant's unit, and that they told the tenant. Okay? And if they don't do this, there should be a fine of $10,000 per unit. That will be enough incentive, okay, to stop this hiding, because it is out there. Now, let me continue further. No landlord should be forced to carry a debt that the city can solve. The city is in a fantastic position right now, boom, to retire the debts of the majority of landlords, if not all small landlords out there. But you have people out here who don't want to understand tax increment financing. They don't want to understand legislation. They don't want to have the problem solved, because having the problem solved essentially means, well, they don't have anything to yell about or argue about or bully somebody about, right? That's not the way to run a city, okay? We're headed in the wrong direction. We've got to straighten it out. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. That ends this broadcast.